I don't even know if like the best European teams were even at Iceland. So I expect EU to be really strong in Berlin.
When it comes to Europe and North America specifically, what would you say is the biggest weakness in each region?
In North America, I would say a lot of teams are individualistic. Like, don't get me wrong. I hate when people say like, "Oh, Sentinels so puggy and stuff." For us specifically, but there are a lot of teams that like we play against, and we just know they're going to like try take fights. They're not going to play off like any sort of system or like abilities and brute force no side or apply this and this and this. They're going to buy Vandal and try to scale up into the site, and like these teams are still finding success, like, you know, like high placements in some tournaments and stuff. Well, like I feel like that playstyle is never gonna win you anything. Like, you're gonna win matches, but you'll never win a tournament. Like, a team is gonna be able to build a game plan around that. And so like the NA teams that do play like this, a lot of them, like, you know, that fall back to this, like, need to learn how to like play a bit more of a structured round, how to like play rotations or how to build and execute. And then when it comes to Europe, man, so they play really structured too, but like the problem is when you follow a script too much, it's easy to like experience it once and then like build a game plan around it to counter it. That's like the big thing is that like, okay, we might start off slow versus like a European team in a scrim. They're running this sort of default, but then they continue to like approach it around the same way, and it's like, okay, then we're gonna do this and this and this to counter it. This is just like what I say at face value. But it's tough to say because, like, you know, we only played against Fnatic in matches twice, so it's hard to say like outside of them how the other teams like represent. Fnatic was a tough opponent for sure.
What would you say is like the next region you'd look at as being the biggest threat or the most interesting one? Is it just the obvious in choosing Korea?
Korea really impressed me. They play the game very differently from everyone else in terms of like having the set setups, the trap plays, like lots of cool setups that I haven't seen any other teams run. The problem is that if you're aware of them, then you can create a game plan around them, which is like our scoreline versus them. Like we pretty much dominated them. But if like a team falls into these traps without knowing, without prep, or like they have new stuff, it's gonna be very difficult to play around that. Like they're gonna get some rounds off these plays alone. I think that they could learn to mix in like a team that can implement their game style as well as like being able to default and play a little reactive is gonna be really scary. And Brazil, I think, has extremely strong players, but I was a little interested to see that they were still running like, you know, Omen a lot, like a bit of older comps. Like they picked Icebox versus us, but they didn't run. I don't think they ran Sage and Viper or something. And I feel like those two are like really strong agents, regardless of how you play them out. So I think that as soon as they can catch up in terms of like playing the so-and-so meta, that they'll be a competitive region as well.
You said that EU has a deeper talent pool, but what do you think is the region's biggest strength now you've had a hands-on experience with it?
It was a really good experience for us having that quarantine time to like scrim against these European teams. I don't even know if like the best European teams were even at Iceland, like, you know, for like a full representation, because Gambit, Ascend, FPX, G2's new roster, these are all really strong teams in practice. And the way they play, like we were learning a lot from just playing them, you know, the stuff they use. I think that like I never thought of Sky as like a really strong character because of the way he's played in NA, or she played in NA. But the way the Europeans play Sky is like miles ahead of the way the NA teams are, especially the fact that like they're running Sky as well as Sova for the most part. Like for some reason NA teams think that like Sky is like a replacement for Sova, and I like completely disagree with that. The fact that you could have like a drone and like the Sky Dog or the Flashes like take map control in two different places at the same time is like, I just really like the way they were playing it. So I expect EU to be really strong in Berlin.